people of YouTube, I'm Dave from TVR Creators and I am pumped up today to give you absolute value. Today we're going to be talking about the Canon M50 Mark II and why the M50 especially is still the best camera for you creators and filmmakers. So do not go anywhere because we've got absolute value. We're going to be talking about why it's a great camera and just give you some of the rundowns of the basics of why this camera is the camera stool that you should get for under either £1,000 or $1,000, and let's get straight into the value. So without further ado, let's just walk over. Here we are at Cam 2. Hey! So this is technically the Canon M50. I've had this now for a year or two, and for those of you that watch my weekly Tuesday videos, you will know how good a quality video this produces. And I'm going to tell you the differences between this and the Canon M50 Mark II, and perhaps which one you should get. We'll get to that a bit later on. If you're pumped up for the value today and you just can't wait to hear what I have to say about this camera, smash that like button as we get into the value. I'm so pumped up today. So this is the Canon M50, right? So what I love about this, it's quite easy, and what I'll be talking about today, there's links into the description, affiliate links, so go and check them out after this video if you feel like buying this camera. Now, why I love this camera so much, it's just nice and light. Now, when I first got it, I was a bit unsure if it was going to be, you know, a little bit too small, but to be honest, I really like it. It's really light to carry, especially if you do a lot of outdoor filming or if you film indoors. It doesn't really matter. I just find it nice and light in the hand. It's not too heavy. Sometimes when you go back to a more traditional SLR, you'll be like, oh God, this is a bit big. So I love this. But why I love this so much as both a filmmaker and a creator is this. It comes with a really awesome flip screen. They both come with this. It's really cool. Let's just see if it turns on. And you can see it's a touch screen, which makes it really efficient. So you can click on that. You can change around the menus. You can click on what part you like to focus. So if you want it to automatically pick up your face, you can do that. You can also, you know, focus on something in the background if you want a more interesting shot. And it has about 3 options of different types. So you can auto do that, manually do that, or you can specifically, you know, get the camera to focus on a particular object that it looks at. Now, why else I like this, it has an audio jack. I don't know if you can, you should be able to see that. It has an audio jack, which is great, so you can get a microphone like I've done here. This is just a sort of a basic shotgun mic that I use in a lot of my videos, and you can just sort of it clips over quite nicely. If I'm brutally honest, if Canon ever saw this, what they possibly should have done on the Mark II is perhaps put the audio jack on the other side. And the only reason I state that, and this is no down spiral at all, it's just that sometimes if you haven't pulled the cap out sort of after you pull the screen around, if that makes sense, it's sometimes a bit fiddly, so you have to put the screen back and then open the cap, and sometimes it might be annoying if you haven't remember to do that. But if you get used to the camera, it just sort of happens automatically. But that's a real minor thing. Now, you can get a kit lens with this. It's the 15 to 45, I believe. Is that right, Dave? Yes, that is right. Let's just double check that. Yeah, 15 to 45. And this is a brilliant camera for both photography and video. It takes absolutely fantastic photos. Some of the photos I put on my Instagram page, so go and check them out. Though a lot of them are from my phone, but it just takes great pictures. I love this. So if you just want to use it as a photography camera, I highly recommend this as an entry-level camera. Because bear in mind, you can spend thousands on a camera, and this is way under $1,000. It's about $500-600 or pounds, and depending on what day of the week it is. And I say that quite brutally honest, because obviously prices changes all the time. And what's really cool about the Mark II coming out, it means you can get some cracking deals on the M50. So, you know, you can get like the marketplace deals, or you can go on like eBay and stuff like that. But just bear in mind, make sure the reviews are solid, and perhaps whoever's selling it has sold a few hundred items and they've got a good 4 or 5 stars before you buy. That's just my recommendation, but obviously do as you will. But getting back on track, what I love about this is the fact that it has this really nice flip screen. And you're both thinking, well, why is that so important? I'll tell you why. So for most of us creators that film on our own, it's really handy. If I just pull that out so you can see it, because I've got it the wrong way because I'm a numpty. If you just turn that around, if I just open a second, it just clips open, and I'll get into the lenses more in a moment. If you can see that, you just sort of tab it open, and you should be able to see me zoom in, he says. I've suddenly got all confused. There we go, you can see me zooming in there. Look, you can see me zooming in. And as you can see, it's picking up all sorts of things in the background. But what's really cool about that, so when you're filming, you can see yourself. Bear in mind, if you're talking to a camera, try to make sure you look at the lens, because that's a mistake we've all done. But it's just really handy. So if you're filming yourself, you can see yourself, you know, if you're moving around, that sort of thing. And perhaps later on, I'll get into a bit more detail about the setup I would highly recommend. Actually, let's just briefly do that now. So for any of you starting out, or you want to upgrade from your phone and you want a half decent camera that doesn't cost the earth, I highly recommend the Canon M50 or the Canon M50 Mark II, because it's way under $1,000. It's about $500-600 depending on what day of the week it is. And get yourself a little microphone. Go and check out my Tuesday video after this video where I talk about more about microphones, and you can just clip in the microphone. It does have an internal microphone, but I would highly recommend just plug in the microphone, and then you can always get an extended cable later. You can have it sort of closer to the camera, that sort of thing, or you can get a clip-on mic, clip on yourself, or on a second tripod. That's something I would highly recommend, just to give you guys value, and that will highly improve your audio. Not to say that the internal microphone on this camera isn't good, it is fantastic, but especially if you're filming outside, I would just highly recommend getting an external microphone just to make your videos sound much more professional. So I would highly recommend that. And what I love about the Canon M50, a lot of, say, cheaper cameras, they don't always have audio jacks, or a lot of them don't unless you spend the earth, and that's just something to bear in mind, especially if you want to future-proof yourself. Now, it records in HD, it records in 720 at 24 frames per second, in 1080p, and it does also film in 4K, but just bear in mind you can't go all the way up to 120 frames per second if you want to do slow-mo. But if I'm brutally honest, even 2021, I would highly recommend that it doesn't really matter, because, you know, if you want to do slow-mo, you can do that in post when you're editing. And also for most people, they're just happy with, you know, 28 frames per second, and, you know, and they don't need, you know, those extra frames if you're just doing normal recording like I'm doing now. So sort of bear that in mind. But obviously if you want a 4K camera, you can spend much more money, perhaps that isn't the camera, but for me personally, this is the Dom. Now also, what's really nice about this type of camera, if I can just pull the screen in, it turns all the way around. I'll just turn it off to save the battery, and so you can pull the screen in, which is really nice. And obviously it has interchangeable lenses. I'm just being careful of the tripod because I don't want it to fall off. So what's really cool, let's see if I can pull this in now. It just has a little clip which basically starts or turns off the lens, which is really cool. Now if you just click that, that should just come off really easily. Really small, I don't know if you can see that, really small lens there. And obviously you can upgrade and get different lenses, and obviously because it is a mirrorless camera, which basically, as it says in the name, it's mirrorless, because original cameras had 2 mirrors, and then more recently SLRs had 1 mirror, and then obviously modern digital SLRs also had a mirror. So it basically just means they can make these cameras smaller. But what's really nifty, you can get an adapter, and you can always look out for deals. I'm trying to do this backwards. And what's really cool, you can get an adapter. So if you've got an old lens hanging around, sadly I've not bothered buying one yet, but I do plan to, which means then I can use some of my older lenses. So if you've got a really cool, say 300mm, so you want to really zoom in, or even a 500mm or whatever lens that you would like to zoom in, something to bear in mind, if you've got an adapter, you can just plug in an adapter on your M50, get one of your old lenses, save yourself a bit of money, and there you go. You then got a higher range, because one of the criticisms of the M50 was it only had a few lenses that were compatible with this, though that's extending all the time, both with Canon and non-Canon brands. But I would highly recommend, if you get an adapter, then that just opens you up. As long as it has the right connection, you've literally got hundreds of lenses to pick from. So if you want
wide angle lens, you might want something like a 15 or 18mm. Like I said, this kit lens that comes with it is 15, that's more than fine. And what I like about up to the 45, just gives that creativity in the future if I want to zoom in on something. But just bear in mind that, again, I don't often use that, and I find a good zoom in is like 24 or 28mm on the kit lens, or you can buy one separately that just does that if you want that higher quality. But I personally, as a creator, and some of you may agree with this if you have this camera already, I find I use the 50mm part of the kit lens because then it gives that wider angle, and it also means I can have the camera closer to me, it peers further away, and that just makes it really clever. So if I say, for example, you've just got a point and shoot camera, or you want like the 45, or you know, you're trying to be clever with 200mm or something, then you may find that, you know, you have to put the camera much further away, and that means you've got to get the microphone closer, and you know, it's just fiddly. So it's just really cool. So this kit lens that comes with it, obviously you can buy it with just the body, but it's just a great deal for you content creators. Let's just have a brief look to see who is in the chat. Do not go away, as you guys are bringing the value. So if you're getting value from this video so far, smash that like button. If you've got any questions, let's just have a look in the chat, see what's going on. Here he is, look at that value. Hey, yes, I'm loving the Canon M50. Now in a moment I'm going to talk about what personal setup I would recommend for you guys if you're looking to get the Canon M50 or the M50 Mark II. If you want to support the channel, subscribe, watch any of our videos, check out our merch. And, you know, just by watching our weekly videos, you are part of the TVR Creators. Value. Right. There is crack on with the show. So, what I would highly recommend, so say you've got this camera now. So I've told you briefly about the lenses, what microphones. If you're thinking, right, I want a really cool setup, and it's not going to cost the earth. So I would highly recommend getting yourself the M50. If you've already got the M50, perhaps you want to upgrade to the M50 Mark II. Now, the only big differences from all the reviews I've looked at and videos I've watched is basically it has what's called a clean HDMI connection, which basically means if you're live streaming, you can connect a HDMI into it, and that basically means you don't have to mess around with the settings, or you don't see you know, it's zooming, you know, the options on the screen. So it just makes live streaming a bit more simpler. But you can download the Canon app onto your computer, connect by USB, and also use as a webcam. You're probably thinking, Dave, why don't you do that? Just because me personally, obviously do as you will, I just find webcams are the simpler for live streaming. I find with phones you quite often have to use a third-party app, and again with something like a proper camera, and you know, just at the moment that's just the level that I feel. But I would highly recommend, if you want to up your quality of your videos, especially if you're just doing live streams, you might want to just, you know, use the USB Canon app. So then you can use the M50, especially the M50 Mark II, as a webcam, and then you'd have the amazing lens, the video quality, which will be will be much better, and that's something perhaps I will do in the future, especially if I eventually get a couple of these, which is, you know, you never know with me. Now, what I would highly recommend if you're doing weekly videos, oh yeah, the only other big difference really with the M50 and the M50 Mark II is just a few more features, but they look the same, they have the same buttons, they're the same size, you know, you have the same lenses. So if you haven't got one, basically the short version is go and get a Mark II. But if you haven't already, you know, you can probably get a really good deal on a second M50. Or if you don't want to spend that extra 50 quid, there's loads of great deals, even on Canon, we can get refurbished ones and stuff like that, so go and check it out. Now, the setup I would highly recommend if you're getting an M50 would be to obviously have the camera, just keep the kit lens, brilliant, it's all I've needed, and I've been doing this for about a year now. Get yourself a half decent microphone or a decent microphone, this little shotgun one here. So this cost about 500-600 quid at the time. Get yourself a microphone. One of these is about £15-20. Obviously, if you want a bit better quality audio, I recommend getting a bit bigger one for about £50-60 or dollars. So just bear that in mind. One little thing I'd recommend is get one with, I don't know if you can see that, little switches on. So if you want to up your volume gain, if you're a bit further away from the camera, or you can get a jack extender, which I don't have because I just haven't needed it, but you can do, which means you could then have your shotgun mic sort of out of shot, but sort of up here, further away, and it's just a really good setup. So get yourself later on a second tripod, and you can do the same. Now, a little tip I would highly recommend for you core fans, if you get a clip-on mic, I found for the best audio quality, they cost about £10–15 or dollars. Have it on a second tripod just underneath the shot, and the sound quality is brilliant. And if you're filming outdoors, just make sure it's got a nice little windbreak on it, and they give off absolutely brilliant audio quality, and you don't have to spend your earth. And if you're using a phone, you can do that as well. But we were here talking about the M50. I would highly recommend a cool tripod. You could get yourself one like I'm using at the moment to hold both my webcams. A 15, £20 tripod. But for me personally, I prefer something a bit more quality. This one was about 40 quid. And what I like about this actually, you can just pull off the top. I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can. And then it turns into a selfie stick, which is really cool. So if you want to do outdoor filming, if you're blogging around the location that you are, this might be something you want to think about. This is better for doing pamming shots and that sort of thing. And that's just something to bear in mind. So here's just a close-up of the M50. I absolutely love this camera. I'm so pumped. If you're getting value from today's video, smash that like button. If you're watching the replay, please ask any questions in the comments, because I'm more than likely to forget something just because there's so much to get into. Now, I'm probably not going to go into every little detail and everything you can do on it, because we would literally be here all night. But just bear in mind, you can do auto, manual. You can obviously change all the shutter speeds and all that sort of stuff. But if if you're just getting started, you want the quality M50, but you literally just want to point and shoot, I'd highly recommend just putting it on audio, auto, or just put it on film mode if you're filming, and it will give some great settings. And you can always tinker with them in the manual settings later when you get a bit more confident with camera. It's really easy to do. You just go onto the flip menu, you just play around with the shutter speeds and just see what sort of settings that you like. But if you're not comfortable with that, like I say, I would highly recommend just going to auto, just click into film mode and just point and shoot, and off you go. So if you've got a decent tripod, decent microphone, you've got the Canon M50 or the Canon M50 Mark II, and you are ready to go. And I cannot emphasize enough, I've had this now probably since about 2019, I believe. The Canon M50 came out in 2018, and it's still not just me that says this. So many creators, for those use in the TVR universe, I know there's a few that have it now, and loads of other YouTubers and content creators still say for way under £1,000 or dollars, it's still the camera. And obviously you can spend thousands on a camera and lenses and all the rest of it, but for most of us, that's just a little bit unrealistic, especially until you start making money on your channel. Just bear in mind, it's still the one to go. And yes, it does have competition with the Sony, I think it's the ZV-1, I say that 10 times fast, which is a great little camera, but it doesn't have interchangeable lenses. I can't talk today, and that's something just to bear in mind, and that's what I love about this. So I don't often do it with the M50, but I could do, like I said earlier, I could connect the adapter, I could use an old lens, I could buy a lens down the road if I decide actually I want a Pacific, if I make a film in the future again and I want a Pacific lens, I can just get that lens. Do you know what I mean? So you're future proofing yourself. And I still don't say that you need to use, you can film in 4K, bear in mind it's about 24 frames per second, but you don't need it. You really don't, because you've got to bear in mind that most people watching mine and your content will be watching your content on their phones, and I still say in 2021 that HD is more than fine, and you can play around with the video and the photo quality as well. Really easy to do on the screen, so bear all that in mind. I'm just going to have a brief look to see if there's anyone in the live chat, just because you guys rock. I'll be back in a mo. So if you're
only just joined us, I'm just going to have a brief look at the live stream because you guys rock. I'm Dave from TVR Creators, and I make weekly YouTube tips to help you build your brand. If that sounds interesting to you, subscribe now. Now, if you're a silent listener, smash that like button if you're getting value. If you've been watching this whole live stream, either live or on a replay, smash that like button if you haven't already. And you know what? You guys rock, and let's have value. So let's see who's in the live stream then. Hello, Brad. Sounds of Portugal. Hello. Hello, it's nice to see you again. Hello, Ash. Hello, Coffee Talking Tech. Hello, welcome back. Saying hi from the States. Oh, hello, America. And hello, Canada, I believe, with Ash as well. Brilliant. That's awesome. So we got people from Portugal, Canada, US. We're worldwide, people. I know, a live stream about the Canon M50. If you have any questions, knock them in the live chat. I'll do my best to answer them. And even though I use this camera every week, there's probably something that maybe even you guys might even know. So there we go. I'll tell you what, I am pumped up. I love this camera. This camera rocks. This camera is absolutely awesome. I love this camera. So yeah, what you're messing at? Well, I have links in the description. Go and check it out. Or you can see what deals are flying around. So question of the day then. If you was to get the Canon M50 or the Canon M50 Mark II, how would you use it? Would you use it for weekly content? Would you use it as a live stream camera? Would you use it for both? Put it in the comments below, or if you watch this live after the live stream, of how you would use the Canon M50. You know, it's just a brilliant camera. And just to sort of summarise, just think future-proofing yourself. You know, if you've got this as you can get some great bargains which come with SD cards, microphones, tripods, and then from that you can build up your setup and get more professional over time. And just briefly, if you want to think about what SD cards to use, I'd recommend an extreme card, no bigger than 32 or 64 gigabytes. That's more than enough. If you want more, that's fine. And get one that runs at about 90 frames per second, that's megabits per second. That's more than you need, but you can go 120 if you want, or higher. But I've found for both photo and video, that's more than enough. I just want to see if there's anything else I think you should really know about. Obviously, you can do timers on it if you're doing selfies or doing a bit of photography. I believe it's like 2 seconds, 5 seconds, and 10 seconds. You can do lots of effects on it if you wish, like amber and all the rest of it. But again, I won't worry too much about that. I would personally just do that in post. But I just want to say this is just a really easy camera to use. Highly recommend it. I've been using this now for a year or two and I absolutely love it. I don't plan to change it anytime soon. If anything, I might just add to it with just better microphones, maybe a better lens eventually, even though I still think the kit lens on this is fantastic. It gives a fantastic crisp quality video and photos. So there you go. So if you got value from today's video, smash this like button. If you enjoyed today's live stream, I hope you got value from this video because you guys rock. I really do appreciate you. Smash your questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. And thank you so much for joining me today here on the live stream of my favourite camera. I've been talking about this camera every week on and off, or subtly dropping hints. And I just thought I would just talk a little bit about the Canon 50. Now, we could be here all night. Don't worry, we won't be. But I just want to say thank you so much again. And you know what? What you're wasting at? After this video, go and buy a Canon M50 or Canon M50 Mark II. And I guarantee you, if you don't have one already, you will not regret it. And if you have one already, you can comment in the comments below how awesome it is. So anyway, have a great day, great weekend. And for me, Dave, here at TVR Creators, have a fantastic weekend. And as always, guys, let's do it together. Come on, let's do it together with the live film thing, as I'm going to pull it off the shelf, because that is just how I roll, because you guys rock. Yeah, do 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 do.